Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei. I'm so excited to paint with you today. So I have a bunch of paint left over in my palette from my last painting and I don't want to get rid of it, but I want to use it in a intentional way. So I'm going to go through how to kind of create what I need. These aren't actually necessarily the colors that I would use in another painting. So I'm going to use what I have left here, maybe add a little bit more just to make enough, but to create some different colors that I think would be interesting. So this is a good way to kind of use up paint in your palette. So we're going to be doing a little swatching and doodling again, and I'm going to be using just creating some shapes, and then we're going to doodle over top of them. I have my Micron pen, I have a gold pen, I have some bleed proof white if I want it. So that's what we're going to do today. We are painting in a Bauhung sketchbook. Link in the description if you want to be linked to any of these supplies or materials, or if you want to learn more about them, you can check out that link or those links. I'm using my silver black velvet brush, my Core watercolor paints, QOR by Golden, and yeah, let's get started. All right, so this green I love. The orange and blue and the purple and magenta are pretty harsh. So what I'm going to do first is I think I'm going to take this orange and I'm going to turn it into more of a brown by adding some of this blue or a tan color. So now I have a more of an earth tone here, and that's kind of what I'm going to be going for, creating some more earth tones. So this magenta, I'm going to add a little bit more magenta to this and then pick up a little bit of this green. And again, okay, we have an earth tone. So we have this kind of green. Let's do the same with, actually I'm going to leave the purple, I think, maybe how it is. Or actually I'm going to make, let's see. I just add a little bit of that purple to the blue. That has cooled that down quite considerably. So this might be a nice little palette to use. Let's go with this. So basically I just added a little bit of each of these colors to each other to create a little more harmony. Mute some of the colors a little bit, create a little more of an organic feel. But yeah. All right, so I'm going to start with green. And I am going to paint just a series of, usually I do circles. Let's do squares this time. Let's do like squares and rectangles. I'm going to try to leave straight-ish edges, but because I'm painting with a brush, they might not be perfectly square. They might be a little rounded off. Add a little bit more green here. Okay, it's moving on. I'm gonna try to leave a little white gap between them. If you feel like you have to draw this out first, like draw out a bunch of rectangles just so you can feel like things are straight, you definitely can. I'm doing this in my watercolor book. I'm trying to use up paint, play with some color combos. Can help you practice flat washes, getting your squares all flat if you want them all flat. Using my brain to kind of pattern my way through this to make it interesting, to make it feel good and feel right. That can be the hardest part, is the composition of something when you only have so many elements. If you're like, I can only make squares and rectangles and have these colors, you know, your brain has to work overtime to really visualize what is it I am trying to do to make this look interesting. Okay. I definitely have to throw some more green over here. You know, I could leave some of these shapes a little open like this. Draw the edge, but leave it like not fully painted in. That could be interesting. Let's bring in some more green. Now this is a very cool, calm palette. And then even though the magenta red color I have in the palette is very muted, it's still gonna throw things off, or not throw them off, but it's going to change the dynamic of this very cool, soft palette. Is this bothering everybody? Is that like driving you crazy right there that I didn't paint that whole thing in? Maybe if I do it somewhere else, it won't drive you as crazy. And you can practice gradients inside your squares if you want. I think I have to add some more smaller. All right, I'm gonna leave that open. I don't know, I feel very uncomfortable about it. Do you ever paint something that just feels uncomfortable and you're like, it's not right? But sometimes you gotta push through and really give it a chance to be part of the whole before you fix it. So I'm going to try to leave more white spaces in a few of these. And we'll see what we get. We'll see if we hate it. The French Ultramarine over here that I mixed with a little, what did I mix it with? I guess a little bit of the purple. It's a granulating color, so it's actually creating this really beautiful separation as it dries. It's very subtle because I think, you know, I'm using very little pigment. It'd be much more noticeable if I was using a much darker version of it, but there's a lot of water in here. So these are very light, very pastel-y. Definitely makes my brain want to be like, like big sigh. You can decide how far you want to go with this, how much to the edge you want to go. You know, I should have put tape down so that way I could go to the edge but have like a border and not have to like try to paint a straight border. I might do that now. Right, that one's wonky. I'm gonna have to extend it. Okay, let me take a piece of tape. Ah, that's not correct. Coming down to the very end of this tape roll here, so it's getting a little funky here. I have some artist tape over here. Kind of the expensive stuff, so I don't always like to use it for this. This I usually use for mounting watercolor paintings in their frames. But if I go there and I go like right here, I can paint to the edge of the tape. And I'll go right to the edge of the page this way, but that way I have like a nice solid border. I haven't used this other color here in a while. Let's get more of that in there. So here, I'm going to take this one all the way to the edge. There. Here we can do this color. And as I'm like getting to the end of these, my colors are getting lighter and lighter because I'm just adding water so I can kind of stretch them. You can see as I work this way, my rectangles got smaller and smaller. And I'm even mixing the, like I got some in this blue. I think I got a little of this tan, which has like an orange undertone, so it's basically turned it gray. Because blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel. All right, I'm gonna do a big something up here. So I think I'm gonna do this red. I'm gonna mix this red and this purple together because there's not a lot left. And this can be so satisfying, but it can take a long time. I'm just noticing we've already been doing this for 10 minutes. There we go. Let's do something a little bigger up here. Also going to leave a little white space in it. And then we're going to get all the way to this edge. What do we have left? We have this tan color, a little bit of it left. And then that red, let's put some green down here. And then I think I just have to, well, let's go even a little further. I don't want them all to be the same height here, except at the very end. All right, we got little to nothing left down here, so do my best to kind of fill in with whatever is left in the palette. Some more of this gray tone. I think that's it. That's all she wrote. All right, so let's peel off our tape and then we'll do some doodling. So some nice crisp edges. That feels good. A nice hearty line. All right, so let's let that dry. Make sure everything is dry before you bring in your pen, and then we're gonna do some fun doodles on top. All right, we're back and everything is dry. Now, I think I'm gonna take this in a really different direction than you may have all thought I was gonna go, but I'm gonna do a botanical. I'm gonna draw a fern on top of this, and I'm just gonna let this be the background, and I'm gonna draw right over top of it, not interacting necessarily with any of the shapes that I already put down. Sometimes you can interact with the shapes and do little doodles inside each of the shapes. You know, whatever you're feeling, but I'm feeling ferns this morning, or a fern. So a fern is basically, let's go right over, is a leaf with lots of little leaves on it. So they're wider towards the bottom. Let's see if I can get this right. So it's gonna have these stems with lots of tiny leaves on them, and then the overall look and feel as all the parts come together is these look like leaves with this leaf on top. And you can be much more purposeful with your fern shapes and have them be more kind of realistic to a fern, but have sometimes more jagged shape edges. And I have black and I do have gold as well. So maybe I'll incorporate some of that gold in a little bit. But this can, similar to our squares, can be very meditative. And these are going to get kind of narrower and narrower as we go up in terms of the length of the arms of this plant. So each one is going to get subsequently a little shorter as it goes up. Now I'm also, as I'm like drawing it, I'm second guessing my fern shape. And the leaves will get tinier and tinier. If this doesn't feel satisfying, then I don't know what does. Like after I complete each one, like taking a step back and looking at it, I'm like, oh, that looks so great. Kind of all comes together. But it is time consuming, as you can see. But when that's what you want to do, when you want to, sometimes it could be so gratifying when something is very time consuming and repetitive, and then when you're done and you step back, it's like, it was worth it. It was worth it. Right, I'm going to do 2 more, and then this at the top here. These are going to be kind of thin. As I'm going up, they're getting progressively sloppier. But again, the volume sometimes makes up for that. Like you can't see all the tiny little variations and kind of the sloppiness as you go, as you're working quickly when there's so much material all together. Oh, that looks so fun. Now, you could go through and you could add paint to this on top of it. You could leave it as the line drawing. You could color in a few of these. Let's see. So if you colored in a few here and there, you could do that. Well, now I have to commit. I kind of wish I didn't, but that is what experimentation is all about. And then we can also go to the gold pen. Let's just color in a few of these here and there. And it's just creating some pops of contrast. It's a design choice. You can definitely leave it. You do not have to follow me. Okay, let's add some gold. So we could do just another, let's just layer right over top of this. This might turn into a hot mess, but I'm just going to take this gold and do exactly what I just did in the black, but right over top of it. I'm going to fast forward this part just so we can get to the end for you, so you can kind of see. So some of it overlaps, but then some of it finds its way out of the original design. All right, let's fast forward. All right, there we go. We are done. I think that looks like a lot of fun. I like the gold play with the black on these soft, kind of delicate, but also structured elements of the background. It's definitely something different. Great way to use up a whole bunch of paint left over in your palette. Play with your colors, get some practice with lines. You could even go through, I'm afraid to do this, but you could go through and interact with the background a little bit. You can start to create some structure around some of the squares if you want them to kind of become part of the pen and ink drawing as well. That is definitely an element you could add. So thanks for drawing, painting, swatching, doodling with me. This is always so much fun and kind of freeing, just playing our way through lots of different elements. So thank you. Don't forget to check out the description for links to supplies and materials. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Share it with a friend if you know someone who also would be interested in this video or other videos that I have on my channel. And yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget to leave a comment if you have one. I would love to hear from you. Thanks again, y'all. It's always a pleasure to paint with you. I'm Shayna Cersei. Happy painting, and we'll see you for our next watercolor journal page very soon.